Funky politics.
Funky politics.
Funky politics.
Funky politics.
Funky politics.
Do not attempt to adjust your radio station. You're listening to the funkiest broadcast or podcast in the entire nation, probably internationally as well. I am the Doc, your host on Funky Politics, F to the U to the N to the K to the Y, politics, remember that. And today, I've got with me my wonderful co-host, special co-host. She's dressed in black and she's bound to react, Miss Tosha Downey with me today. How are you?
I'm as good as they get.
Good as they get?
I'm good as they get. Straight from my mama's house.
Oh.
Full of soul food, ready to bring all the fire, all the goodness.
All the hot sauce.
All the goodness. All my resolutions, I done killed them all. I done failed on all of them already. So we done with that.
So it's time to go on and be you.
It's time to be
Live
real.
your best life. There it is.
Live my best life now.
So what's going on while you living your best life today? What's up?
So I've been doing these Facebook fights.
Okay.
Twitter battles, Instagram slams.
What are you fighting about?
I'm fighting about my baby girls in this world.
Okay.
Malcolm X had a quote that said the black woman is the most disrespected and disregarded and unprotected
Malcolm X
person
said that?
in this society.
I thought Donald Trump said that.
And you can believe who didn't say that
when he talked
Donald
about
Trump.
Maxine Waters and Mia Love and all the other African American women that he's dogged out. Save Omarosa because she's got the tapes on.
Well, he still called her dog.
Oh yeah.
And so what happened when folk came after big bad tough sisters, we ready. We waiting for you at the door when you come for us. But my real issue is the way folks have come for little girls. When predators because they make albums and they sing and they sell out arenas.
I don't know who you're talking about.
When predators come and prey on our beautiful black girls, folk want to have something to say about the girls.
The Me Too movement is not exclusively to women, it's to little girls too. And just for the record, we just want to say that it is not a funky thing when anyone takes it upon themselves to harm the head of any child. But we gonna elevate a little bit.
We gonna pull up,
because I want to talk about something else. Because we've got a guest today that is going to bring the funk for the new year and kick it off in style. He is he comes from the Magic City, but he is the chief magician. The chief magician of the Magic City. I ain't talking about the club, y'all. I'm talking about the city. Magic City, Birmingham, Alabama. And we're going to have a conversation with Birmingham, Alabama's mayor, Mr. Randall Woodfin, when we get back here. But I invite you all, actually, we demand that you make sure you check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, or your favorite podcast provider. Plus, you can text us at FUNKY 72,000. That's F to the U to the N to the K to the Y 72,000 right here on Funky Politics. And y'all hang on because we're going to be right back.
Am I gonna sit there and argue with you over we had steak 2 days ago, I want chicken?
B.
I'm gonna be spicy all of the time. I don't care if I'm single or not.
C.
I think that the foundation is how you were brought up.
3 Black Chicks on the Kazookian Network.
Kazookian! I'm Tosha Downey, my mama's favorite child, and you are listening to the Funky Politics, powered by the Kazookian Network.
Funky Politics powered by the Kazookian Network. We have absolutely evicted Father Time 2018 to bring on the brand new 2019, a new day, a new way, and a new co-host. Maybe sometimes she's not, but right here she's here today. Clark AU's finest, Tosha Downey. How you doing?
Hey y'all.
And she's bringing the real, and we told you last year we would make this show realer, righter, and funkier than it's ever been before. But guess what? This day we're bringing you the magic from the Magic City, not the club. the city, the real Magic City. Birmingham, Alabama's Mayor, Mr. Randall Woodfin. Attorney, Mr. Randall. How do you say that now?
Just Randall's fine.
Just
y'all.
Randall's fine?
What's up, everybody?
Well, you're gonna be Randall with us today. Bro.
Absolutely.
But we got to give you your respect. We got to put spec on the title, man.
Yeah, some respect on my name.
There
I
you
got
go.
you.
There you
I understand.
go. And
But we do want to know what your cousins call you, like at the house. When it's all y'all there, like what your cousins call you.
Randall.
Okay, well, Rand. We wanted to have this conversation with you, and it started off with you because there's so many things that you represent that are dynamic about the world we're living in now. First of all, you are, as we understand it, one of Birmingham's youngest mayors ever elected. There hasn't been a mayor in over a century that's been elected that's
right.
Your age. So you're bringing fresh new ideas to that city from a fresh new perspective, right?
I have to. First of all, let me say I'm happy to be on the show.
We're happy to have you.
Man, and I don't care how many days, because no one ever gives me the right answer. How many days you get into January, at this point you can still say Happy New Year.
That's right.
Or at least I hope y'all having a good New Year so far.
Oh, absolutely.
In that regard, I'm still humbled to be in my position as mayor of my hometown, the city of Birmingham, and to have the opportunity to share some realness with y'all. Yep. Happy to do so. So here it is, 14 months on the job, and I can tell you I still have the same sense of urgency I had the day I was sworn in. The same sense of urgency when I first started running for office, which I announced 1 year out. And for me, it's all about how do I help people in my community. And so I ran on a campaign theme, We Deserve Better. And coming into office for the last 13, 14 months, it's all been about putting people first.
Right.
That's not just some words or a theme, but it's an actual strategy on how we can be intentional about improving the quality of life of the people that live in my city.
Okay. And through that, I mean, you've got a number of initiatives that have been going on as far as putting people first.
Absolutely.
What are the things that you would like to talk about right now with us that you feel are some of the flagship ways which you're putting people first in the Magic City?
Believe it or not, I'm gonna start with the non-sexy stuff.
The non-sexy?
The non-sexy.
Just the funky.
Look.
Just give us the funky.
Give us the funky version of the non-sexy.
There you go.
The funky version of the non-sexy stuff is how do we in our positions as mayors across the city get the fundamentals, the basics of government right. I call it the fundamentals of blocking and tackling.
Okay.
You got to pick up people's trash on time.
Oh, sure.
All right, you got to pave streets.
Yep.
You got to make sidewalks and curbs walkable. You got to make sure street lights work. You got to make sure police respond to calls and our EMS, emergency management, respond to calls. Those are the non-sexy things that you got to do.
Right.
And from a government standpoint, in my position, those things have to be done in an efficient and effective way. But we find they haven't always been that way. And so I've just been pushing, how do we make sure our employees have the resources they need for us to deliver services better?
Okay. How is the community responding to that? Because usually, you're young, you're smart, you are the one we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
And how do folks say, sexy stuff, but they got big dreams and big hopes and big burdens that they're putting on you? How's the community responding to that?
I think the community has been a fair balance. If I'm honest, the big mamas and grandmothers still walk up every day and say, hey, I'm praying for you. Thank you for what you're doing for the city.
It's good.
And the young folk in my generation and even younger walk up and say, can I take a selfie? So I must be doing something right.
That's right.
Well, what does anybody ever come and say, can I take a selfie and I'm praying for you?
I haven't had that one yet.
Okay. We're going to get you.
I haven't had that one yet. But overall, I think our residents have big dreams. I think what parents and what grandparents want is not only for their children to feel safe on their own front porch or in their own front yard, but they want the ability to have employment opportunities for their children. They want them to be able to finish school and be able to go to college or university or have employment opportunities. So in that regards, we're setting up some things where we're working on what you call the Fred Shuttlesworth Scholarship Opportunity.
Wow.
That's the biggest initiative we're working on. One of the mayors before me, Larry Langford, recently passed a couple of days ago.
Yes.
And he's one of the reasons why I became mayor. First time I heard him speak was I was 11 years old in 6th grade at my middle school. And I walked away saying, I can be the mayor. But in addition to that, I just think about all the speakers that have ever spoken at K through 12, and he's the only one I remember.
Wow.
And so I translate that to the position I'm in now. His conversation then is the conversation I'm still having today. We have to, as adults, invest in education for our children.
Absolutely.
That's the biggest return we can get on any investments we make. So the Fred Shuttlesworth Scholarship Opportunity is a spinoff of the Kalamazoo Promise in Michigan. Right. You live in the city limits of Birmingham, right. You finish Birmingham City Schools, you can attend any in-state 2-year, 4-year college, university free of tuition, and that's non-negotiable.
Wow.
And that's what we're working on. That's the best. If you want to know what my signature project is, it is how do we invest in our youngest generation, period.
And that investment is important. I don't think people really understand that. But you're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazuki Network. We're talking exclusively in studio with Mayor Randall Woodfin, Mayor of the city of Birmingham, Alabama. And we're talking about education and things that you're doing. And we're going from the pothole non-sexy to the education. So we're starting to get a little sex appeal. What are some things that you've got? What are some really good fine projects you got out there, the really sexy stuff?
Well, look, I live in a city where you got to take care of small business owners. So by January 28th, we would have had hundreds of small business owners applying for 21 Small Business Council. The purpose of this council is to help and guide me and my administration and my Department of Economic Opportunity around how can we provide better policies for small business owners. I realize the bedrock of our city, of our tax base, is small business owners.
Sure.
And they deserve to be taken care of better. Mm-hmm. So in that regard, we're looking to engage small business owners where they can have a say and input on the decisions we make that affect small business owners.
How's your chamber responded to that? Where it's the big businesses that make the big money, how have they responded to engaging small businesses?
So our chamber is called the Birmingham Business Alliance. There was an executive meeting 3 days ago. I showed up. And I told them, I was very honest. All of corporate Birmingham was in that room. We can't look at economic development the same. Well, we can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. The one-trick pony around throwing tax incentives at a business to lure them to our city, that can't be the only play. And other people deserve a seat at the table. So what we got to do is hit the reset button of how we do economic development. So my expectation is that they're going to embrace that. Because I'm not going to sit at the table and expect them to lead. As mayor of the city, I'm going to lead. I'm going to tell them what the vision and direction is and ask them to come along.
Wow. And it's interesting because you got an education program now where you're investing vigorously in education. And a lot of times the politicians say we need to do the tax incentives because we don't have any other incentive because particularly for southern cities, our education level is X. So now you can answer and say, no, we've got to grow all of these ships at the same time. We've got to be the rising tide for all of them. For all of them. But now as it relates to you said small businesses, but let's stop with the euphemisms. African American businesses, because Birmingham has a significant African American population.
Significant is huge, brother.
Significant.
3 out of 4 people are black.
Yeah.
We're the top 5 black.
Blacker than us.
We're in blacker than 100 midnights down in the Cypress Swamp.
I think if I'm correct, we're in the top 5 blackest cities in America.
Okay.
Yeah. I know 2 that beat us are Detroit and what's the other city?
Jackson, Mississippi.
There's another city in Michigan.
Flint. Yeah.
Flint. Ms. Weaver. She's doing a great job as mayor.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so here we are, 2021. What is my vision in regards to what our city can be? I think we should be the hub and destination city for any minority women-owned business. I consider that if a young lady finishes Clark University and she's laying up in her bed looking up at her ceiling and she has an idea or a wish or a dream to open her business, and she can't do that in Atlanta or she can't do that in her hometown in Nashville or Detroit, she can come right to Birmingham because she can be guaranteed she'll be taken care of, embraced, find a way to help her transition and to help her with her process of opening up her small business.
Wow.
You know, I want to hear you. I told somebody I was in Birmingham recently and I said, David.
Is that what you said?
FCC don't get me. I did. I said,
this podcast, you can say.
I said, Memphis, we about to lose to Birmingham. We about to get passed by Birmingham. So brag a little bit on your city, because I can't even put into words all of the things that I saw that made me think this is the next southern city to watch. So brag about your city a little bit.
Well, a couple things. In my position as mayor, I try to benchmark and see and do best practices around other cities.
Right.
So we're surrounded by Austin and Chattanooga and Nashville and Memphis and Atlanta and Charlotte and New Orleans.
Right.
And I've had a chance to talk to many of these mayors. I've had a chance to visit many of these cities. And what I find myself saying is, we don't have to be the next Nashville, next Atlanta.
Right.
The city of Birmingham has to be the best version of itself. What should that version be?
Right.
And so I look at what our assets are around healthcare, around logistics. I look at our other strengths around financial services, etc. And then I look at what we should do, which is this. Because she said brag. City of Birmingham not only sits in the middle of the state of Alabama, we sit in the middle of the Southeast.
You're the heart of Dixie.
And
That's
we got
what they call you.
3 major rail lines that pass right through our city. 4 major interstates that pass right through our city. We, believe it or not, have a port, an inland port inside our city limits that can take you all the way to the Gulf.
Right.
And not to mention we have an airport we can expand on. That tells me, not just presently, but definitely looking towards the future, we should be the logistics hub of the entire South. And so no one's going to voluntarily come to our city. So whether by train or by vehicle or by plane, I'm going to go tell people, come to Birmingham, start your business, relocate your business, or transfer your business because you can win in our city. And that mindset allows us to translate. I've translated the mindset into the social scene where we got a new soccer. We got a national soccer league now in our city.
Right.
We have one of the new franchise football teams that's come online, all the teams that came across the South last year. And we also have some other sports activities we're doing. Not to mention we broke ground on a new stadium.
Right.
And so there'll be a new football stadium built that will support UAB Blazers, who are the Conference USA champs.
Right. And that's interesting because once upon a time they suspended football.
They did.
And they brought football back. And not only did they come back, they came back as a champion.
It's only been back.
Wow.
It's only been back in the second season.
Wow.
And so there's a can-do spirit in the city. There's a hashtag that's been going around, particularly around UAB, win is one. I think the energy you saw when you came to town is we believe as a city we can win is one.
Right.
Even with our history, we don't have to necessarily spend our time in the past. We should own that history, learn from it, and then as we live in the present and look towards the future, win is one.
Right, and you're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazuki Network. Our guest today is Mayor Randall Woodfin of the city of Birmingham, Alabama. Now, you said that, and that's interesting because you being the youngest mayor, a lot of times people that are in there, you know, the older folks, and I'm going to say older folks being folks older than you, sometimes get intimidated because they say, well, you're going to come in and everybody that's going to be working for you is going to be 25 years old and we're not going to have any more say over what goes on. But you actually, you know, in mentioning Mayor Langford who passed, you actually, being from Birmingham, have a perspective and a respect for those who have blazed the trail.
Oh, man, absolutely. See that? So that's a couple things. That's a really good point and question. Mm-hmm. I grew up in a household that were never less than 8 people in my home. 4 generations. My great-grandmother lived with us till she was 100 years of age.
Yeah. So did you have a mud deer?
Absolutely.
Okay, I was getting ready to say.
I was like, it's a mud deer, big mama,
mud deer.
grand.
Yeah, when grandma runs out, it's mud deer.
I popped off at the mouth and been slapped before.
Oh, yeah.
So, hey, toe that line, respect, all of that. Yeah. But she was blind from diabetes. Mm-hmm. And I love to tell a story about how she still had all her right mind and all her faculties, though. And it was nothing for us to sit on the porch. I sit at her feet and just listen to her and learn. And I've always had the appreciation of not only respecting my elders, but being intentional about being a sponge to learn from my elders. Right. And so studying previous mayors before me about best practices, learning from everyone around me, always learning, never stop being a student, always learn. So even in my leadership position, I'm in a class with 39 other mayors. It's a cohort of 40 of us.
Wow.
In the Harvard Bloomberg class for 1 year where we learn how to be better leaders in our position as mayors, and we learn from each other. And why do I say that? Because there are always issues that come up. And so on one hand, you got to be able to be in there, react and respond. But on the other hand, you can't stop the long-term planning and executing on what you want to do to move your city forward. Yeah. And so as it relates to respecting my elders, if anyone asks me, what is your biggest accomplishment? What do you feel most proud about that you've accomplished in the first year? I would easily say putting my team together. The majority of my team is older than I am.
Wow, and that just shows perspective. Because like they say, if those of us who don't understand our history, let's say, are doomed to repeat
We're
it.
doomed to repeat
Okay,
it.
I gotta get right with the educator. I can't.
That's right.
I'm gonna defer to you. Well, otherwise I just say it and just say let the chips fall where they may. But we're gonna let chips fall where they may here because they're falling in a good place and in a good space and in a funky race, and we're winning right now with the mayor of Birmingham, Alabama, right here on Funky Politics, powered by the Kazuki Network. Funking up your airwaves and jamming the good information in your ear. Once again, it's Funky Politics.
Funky Politics.
Funky Politics.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Randall Woodfin, mayor of the city of Birmingham, Alabama, the Magic City, and you're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazuki Network.
This is Funky Politics, powered by the Kazuki Network, and if you're listening to us, you're funky. But you don't have to check your armpits, because I ain't that kind of funk. It's a different kind of funk, one that starts in your brain and emanates through your soul. And I am Doc Ward today with you, with my special co-host, Ms. Tosha Downey, and our special guest, Mr. Magic, the mayor of Birmingham, Alabama, the Magic City, Mr. Randall Woodfin. How you doing? Should I say Rand?
Or as his cousins call him.
Rand.
Cool.
And we've been talking about Birmingham and just it being the new things that are happening, the renaissance, the new magic that's on Birmingham. Because Birmingham, I understand, was called a magic city because of the growth that Birmingham was experiencing back in the 20s. And I forgot, was it James Powell or someone of that nature that named it the Magic City? Well, it's part also of another movement now where we realize that in this part of the nation, in the red state South, believe it or not, in every state in the South, from Texas to Virginia, in every major city, at least one, there's an African-American mayor. So you talk about the blue wave, but there's a black wave going on, or brown wave, going on in the South right now. Right, Tasha?
It's black, it's brown, and it's young.
And it's beautiful.
And we want to hear about what that feels like, what that energy was like.
Right.
We celebrated here in Memphis.
You're in the center of it. Right?
We had all the sister girls here. You know,
Right.
we got them in the state senate. We got them in the state house.
Right.
We have them in every corner in the city. Talk a little bit about what that feels like being a part of this class, this new wave of talented young African-American leaders politically.
Right. So I'll tell you like this, because it's Funky Politics. I'll tell you what Dre 3000 said. The South got something to say.
All right.
Yes.
And if I'm keeping it real, it is a powerful moment, not just for America, not just for the South, but for young black people, because it's our generation's time. It's not to take away from our elders, because there's mad respect there.
Right.
But I think what we are part of is the city of Birmingham, city of Jackson, Mississippi,
Right.
Little Rock, here in Memphis, and other areas, Richmond, Virginia,
Right.
Young Brothers,
Right.
um,
In New Orleans, don't forget.
New Orleans,
don't
Kim
forget
Cattrall.
the ladies and
The ladies.
in Atlanta.
Kim, Keisha
right.
in Atlanta,
And Charlotte as well. So
all
get them all over.
doing so well. So I am actually a part of a Bloomberg Harvard class, network of 40 mayors. And there are at least 12 people of color, because some are not from America. There's a sister there from a city in Sierra Leone,
Wow.
actually. But of the 11 of us, 5 of us are under 40 years of age. The mayor of Stockton, California, the mayor of Richmond, Virginia. It's a brother of St. Paul, Minneapolis, who was a FAMU graduate.
Right.
Chokeway in Jackson, Mississippi,
Right.
and myself. Right? So you got FAMU represented, you got Tuskegee represented, you got Morehouse represented,
Right.
you got so many other HBCUs represented in these young mayors. And what we were taught in our undergrad was, you know, we understood what Du Bois told us to do. We understood what Booker T told us to do. And a lot of us came home and said we were going to make a difference. And we weren't going to necessarily wait till the torch got passed. If while the torch was in our elders' hand, we saw our city not moving in the direction it needed to move in.
Right.
So we were gonna snatch the torch. Now we were gonna snatch it in a polite way by going around politics as usual.
How do you snatch something?
I was about to say, talk about a respectful snatch.
I love your diplomacy, but there's no way.
Yeah, how you snatch it respectfully?
I don't know how you snatch it nicely.
You tell your elders ahead of time, saying, I'm going to run for mayor, and this is why.
Right.
I want you to know I appreciated what you've done, but let me tell you why I'm running. And then with all of their money, all their resources, all their organization, and even their power of incumbency, there's a way to work around it.
Right.
And that is by going straight to the people. And for a year, 52 weeks,
right.
I knocked on as many doors as possible and put holes in my shoes.
Wow.
Because I went straight to the people and asked them, were you satisfied with where we are?
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting what you need from your city government? The answer was no.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent more time listening than I did talking. And from listening, I was able to come back to them and say, well, this is what I'm going to do for you.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's how you snatch it.
You spoke about something. I spent a lot of time talking to some of our talented young folk who are in this space and ready to run these races. And one of the things I say is, you got to go talk to the elders. But the response that I've gotten from a few of them is, why should I have to go kiss the ring? Why do I have to go talk to the old politician that's been sitting in the seat and that's run the community into the ground? Why do I need to go ask their permission? So talk about what that asking permission is, looks, and feels like, and why is it important?
Protocol, right.
Absolutely. So if you're going to run for office, there are a couple of people you tell. If you're married, you tell your significant other first.
Right. Oh, sure, absolutely.
You tell your parents.
Mm-hmm.
You tell your pastor. You tell your boss or your employer if you're not self-employed or anything of that nature.
Right.
And then you tell the person you're going to run against, or the person that says they're going to retire and the seat is open.
Right.
That's not kissing the ring. It's not asking for permission. What it is paying respect. And you'll be amazed that the doors can open for you if you pay respect.
Sure.
Many times, young people, we all want to run down the hill, but sometimes it's best to walk. And you can walk when you plan it out. Part of that planning out should be engaging your elders. Some of them, for the record, all my elders told me don't do it. Everybody tried to talk me out of it.
Well, why did they tell you not to do it? They tell you.
Oh, easily, it's not my time. They're gonna always tell you.
Okay.
It's not your time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man, listen. I am a full product of what everybody tell you can't do.
Okay.
Right.
And do it anyway. They told me, well, you shouldn't run. Then they told me don't run, and then they told me you can't win.
Wow.
And it wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about proving something that this community can be better.
So what do they tell you now?
Son, we're so proud of you.
I was praying from you from the beginning.
I was praying for you from the beginning.
I said
I voted for you.
You know one of the things.
I voted for you.
One of the things is interesting that you say that. So when you went to people who you'd hoped, who knew that the community needed something better and didn't get that support, talk about what that felt like and how did you make a commitment to keep pushing anyway?
It was a punch in the gut, and it wasn't a punch in the gut of happiness. It was a punch in the gut of, damn, they know it's messed up. I don't understand why they don't support me. They know it's bad. They know it won't get better if you give this person a third term.
Right.
Why? And then I realized a lot of us, y'all, are risk adverse. We do the opposite of daring.
Right.
A lot of people are afraid of retribution or retaliation. And in the space I'm in, I've just been taught not to be I've been taught to be the opposite of risk averse. Jump off the porch. Don't be afraid to fail. Take a leap of faith. Pray, but work. And then working, like overwork, outwork your opponent.
Absolutely. You got to pick up your bed and walk.
You do.
That's what, as Jesus told Lazarus, and he was funky then, and we're funky now. And you're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazukia Network, with the mayor of Birmingham, Alabama, the fearless Randall Woodfin. Fearless Randall Woodfin. That's what you are. But now, and I want to talk about a little about the sociology of that whole thing, because every older politician, leader, whatever you want to call them, is not standing in the way of young people or younger generation. Some of them actually are welcoming, because they know that they are getting weary on the road, and they don't want to get they don't want to get too weary and fall out on the road, on the trail. So, but some seem to want to hold on, until they can't hold on anymore. They want to die in office.
Die in the seat.
Right.
Die at their desk, But why do you feel like those folks that are, what's the barrier? What is the problem? Why they don't want to hold on? Because it's obvious, like you said, if the city's falling, the city's falling.
It's unfortunately not isolated to city, municipalities, and local government. We unfortunately see it in our church community, in the black church community.
Right.
Because this is funky politics, so I can be real.
You can't be any other way but real.
We see it in our school systems, where some folk have been there too long in certain positions.
Oh, sure.
We see it in other spaces in our black community where we don't do transition plans well. We hold on, and then we wonder why things aren't getting better. Transition plans are important. It doesn't mean we want our elders to just move to the side.
Sure.
But what we want them to do is pour into the next generation. Because if they pour into the next generation and set up a smooth transition, then the organization, the mission of the organization, the vision of the organization, and the community, the family, the people we need to serve from this organization can continue to grow.
Right.
That's needed. And what we find in government is, it's easy, man. If you sit in a space for so long, you kind of do the opposite of coming up with creative ideas, because everything you do now is to hold on to the position. Well, if you're trying to hold on to something, you got a tight grip.
Right.
When you tighten up on something, it stops the flow of creativity. It decreases creativity. It puts you in a space where anybody that disagrees with you, you shut them off.
Right.
Anybody that tells you no, you shut them down. Can't be that way.
Yeah, but you also, when you're constricting, you prevent the free flow of ideas from one end to the other.
That's unacceptable.
Right. But let me ask you about this, because we started out talking about these other leaders that were in the South.
Right.
And you were talking about the class that you attended and the networking and the collegiality you all have. Is there an opportunity that you all have or thinking about for caucusing and coming together behind common goals? Because, our nation is small.
Yes, it is.
The needs of Birmingham and the needs of Memphis and New Orleans and Atlanta are pretty much the same. There's opportunity for collaboration, I'm sure. So now that you all are in this space, is that something that you're looking to do collectively, or have you all actually started with that?
Absolutely. So the two I talk to the most are Chokeway and Jackson,
Okay.
which is just going a little bit west.
Right.
And Keisha in Atlanta, which is just going a little bit east, and I sit in the middle of both of them.
Okay, we got one you can hang out with here in Memphis too.
I'm ready.
So you just
ready.
rolling I-20. You're just doing it that way.
I'm ready.
Yeah, great.
But in those conversations, one of the things we all find ourselves in the South is about public transportation.
Right.
All right. What the issues in Memphis around public transportation are the same in Jackson and Birmingham.
Sure.
And if we can't get the resources we need individually or from the federal government, what can we do collaboratively as it relates to high speed, what it would mean to connect all of our cities?
Right.
So that's one of the things we talk about. The other thing we talk about is just economic growth. All of our cities have these large black populations.
Right.
And there seems to be this full disconnect to we're in position of power, but we haven't created economic power the way we need to for the next generation.
Right.
So how can we be creative in our conversations and on the solutions end for all of our cities to win around economic growth for our black population? And so that's continued conversations. We don't have anything yet because all of us are fresh and brand new.
Yep.
Sure.
But we look forward to seeing how that pans out.
Just knowing that the opportunity is being discussed to us is encouraging to us.
Man, absolutely.
And you know what else it is? It is
Funky.
It's funky. That is the funkiest thing I've heard all day. What about you, Tosh?
It's funky for me.
I mean, really it is. So now, thank you. And I think that's important because I know that you endorsed Andrew Gillum at one point.
Absolutely.
When he was running for governor, of Florida, and you were very much a force out down there, and you were very direct on it. And not apologetic about it. And that was one of the things that we liked about you, both of you, because you all are some really, really funky politicians in that regard. You don't apologize or don't try to normalize where we are right now in this nation and what we're going through right now.
There's nothing normal about what we're going through. We're in a trying time.
Right.
And if we can't get the leadership we need from our federal government at the White House level. We can't get what the leadership we need at the governor's level, Florida, Tennessee, or Alabama. Well, damn it, we got work to do in our municipal governments as it relates to what our mayors can do on behalf of people. And we have a voice, and we don't have the luxury to be silent. And we have to push issues around crime and public safety, around police reform, around criminal justice reform, around marijuana and use of marijuana reform, and all of these issues that affect everyday black people.
Right.
Period.
Right. And another thing too is you've got to really be intentional about letting people understand that this is not the normal. This is not normal. Nothing about this is normal. When news tries to make it seem normal, it's not.
No.
And as all politics are local, it's up to you as mayors to really push that with your people, to give them the help that they need, as you said.
Help and hope.
Yeah, and help and hope. And hopefully that will lead to change, and change will lead to something better and a brighter tomorrow for us. But right now, we're talking about what's happening along the way in Birmingham, Alabama, and the nation abroad. Right here on Funky Politics, Mayor of Birmingham, Alabama, Mr. Randall Woodfin.
We got the funk. Funky Politics on the Kazukian Network.
Riffin' on Jazz.
I'm Howard Robertson, one of your hosts for Riffin' on Jazz. Riffin' is your weekly visit with friends where we dive all in to that classic African-American art form called jazz every week on your favorite broadcast and podcast platforms.
Riffin' on Jazz on the Kazukian Network.
Funky Politics on the Kazukian Network.
Funky Politics powered by the Kazukian Network. If you smell us, tell us. And all you haters, don't be jealous. We just too funky for you. And right now we've got the mayor of the Magic City of Birmingham, Alabama, Mr. Randall Woodfin. We know him as Rand here around these parts.
Same thing. Big Mama and them call him Rand.
There you go. Along with my special co-host, Miss Tosha Downey. As I said before, Clark AU's finest, but also University of Michigan's finest, University of North Carolina's finest, the Tar Heel Wolverine Panther. I don't know what that looks like.
Take your shirt off, twist around your head like a helicopter. That's how we do it where I'm from.
We're just going to do the show. We'll worry about the helicopter later. But we are going to get funky, though. Because one of the things that's going on, I understand right now in Birmingham, is an issue surrounding Angela Davis.
A native
Birmingham.
A baby girl born and raised.
What do you call a native Birminghamian is called what?
I just call her hometown hero.
Okay, well, we'll call her hometown hero. But there was an honor that she was supposed to receive, right, from the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute that was revoked or rescinded.
That's correct.
And now she's not going to receive the award, as I understand it. And that has raised some eyebrows and some ire in the city among several folks, including yourself. So I don't want to get into starting to commentate on things of which I do not know, so I will ask you to tell me what the story really is about, and then we can talk about how funky it is later.
The Fred Shuttlesworth Humanitarian Award is an award that's been given every year for at least 5-6 years. Maybe shortchanging the amount of time it's been. I was actually a part of a cohort of folks that received that award in 2014. So in that regard, the board decided to honor Dr. Angela Davis back in September of 18.
Okay.
And I think there was a concerted effort by some within the community and outside of our local community who decided that she was not worthy of that award, and a campaign was launched, and there was some advocacy directed at the board to reconsider giving her that award.
She wasn't worthy.
Correct.
Wow.
Based on her support of?
I know one of the things that came to me via email over and over was her stance with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, particularly related to, I believe, something of the acronym BDS that dealt with some sanctions.
Right.
Boycott. The board had a series of meetings where on the actual board meeting, they made the actual decision via vote on a 9-2 split. 9 people voting to rescind, 2 people voting to not rescind.
Wow.
Excluded intentionally ex officio members, which included myself and another elder, Odessa Woodfolk, who was the founder and leader of originally of the Civil Rights Institute.
Right.
So her and I were not included in this decision. And we find ourselves as a community where many want to make this between the Jewish community and the black community. It is not. This is a failure of communication. This is a failure of fiduciary duty from the board and their team of folk over there who made this decision. They made it in haste. They made it in a reactionary mode. They refused to elevate, uplift, and have an open conversation, an open dialogue about this. And they didn't consider the opposite reaction of rescinding this, and the reaction not just from the black community, but for all and anybody.
Right.
Let's talk about Dr. Davis. I think, for the record, anybody that raised a flag about her stance with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict had a right to. I have no problem with that. At the exact same time, it's important that as an institute, I put you on par of a college or university. Differences of opinions, differences of thoughts, differences of how you feel about something can be brought to light, and we can talk about it. We can have some real, raw, honest conversation about it.
That is what we do.
Because
it's called discourse.
Yes, because
that's what we do.
How one group feels,
right,
another group has an equal and opposite reaction of her fight around women's rights, her fight around civil rights, her fight in the black community, her fight for criminal justice reform, her fight for LGBTQ rights.
Right.
I don't look at Dr. Davis and isolate her to one issue I disagree with her on. She has an entire body of work where overall she's done amazing things and has fought for many minority groups. And so in this case, the real confusion from my office is, where was the discourse and dialogue to talk about these disagreements? If you originally honored her, you should have remained honoring her and elevated this conversation. And if some thought she wasn't worthy of the conversation, those who disagreed with it and those who agreed should have all been brought to the table to talk about how do we move forward.
Yeah, is this a case?
That opportunity was not afforded.
Yeah, is this a case of folk trying to pick heroes for us?
That's a great question.
That is a great question. I thought that's the first thing that I thought about.
That is a great question. I think the Institute used to be a museum. You and I both know the difference between the museum looks at history in isolation only.
Right.
And for us, that would be Black African American history. You change your name to an institute, and all of a sudden, it's a space of learning, educational, etc. And then you change also to looking at from a humanitarian standpoint versus an African American standpoint, and the conversation and dialogue changes. So that question is probably the most powerful question someone has asked me in 7 days around this topic.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, as a woman of color,
right,
who feels like my call is to work to fight oppression in every form,
right.
And I have tough conversations with my Jewish friends, right? Like, you're gonna lock arms with me in the black community, but you're not gonna check your friends about that Palestinian situation, right? And so it's almost as if we want our heroes, right? We want them to be perfect in all of these ways, but we also want to whitewash them to be people that are acceptable to small, powerful segments of our society and our community. And I'm like, I don't want to mischaracterize that, but from everything that I read and everything I saw, I was like, well, who picking heroes here? Because this is Birmingham civil rights.
Well, I think, but I think it's even something deeper, because it seems to me to say, knowing what the BDS movement is and what it's about, it's not about abolishing or in any way disrupting Israel. It's about boycotting Israel until it meets certain reforms that people believe it's not meeting under international law. And whether you believe that or not, it's a belief. And that's what it is. I'm concerned because I think civil rights and the civil rights movement is fine with most people as long as it's restricted to the African Americans' plight as relates to white people.
In 1950,
in the 1950s and 1960s.
That's right.
But the civil rights movement is just that. It's an active, living, breathing movement that goes all the way up to 2019. We're still fighting the same thing. And it goes from everything from the civil rights movement of the 60s to the wall that's shutting down government in 2019. So we have to address all of these things. But as the mayor of Birmingham, and I'll ask you this, because you have probably the most multicultural city in Alabama.
That's correct.
How do you now, as the mayor, knowing what you know, how do you use this moment as a teachable moment for your citizens of all races and of all religions and creeds to bring the city together behind a common? How do you do that?
This requires a healing moment for our city, and it requires leadership. I would be the first to tell you I believe our city is in a legit leadership crisis right now, particularly from the BCRI Institute as a board. Its decision, and for them to have been quiet for the last 7 days when so many people have more questions, right? There are a lot of questions and we haven't received the answers. There are answers I can't give because I wasn't a part of the process.
Right.
And so now I have attempted to elevate this conversation from twofold. One, to let everyone know we can have an honest dialogue. Two, people can disagree. Three, I want to be very clear in what I'm about to say. Everybody who feels a certain way about this has the right to feel the way they do, whether they agree or disagree. I don't have the luxury as mayor to be monolithic in my thought. I have to bring everyone to the table. That is my job. That is not something I will shy away from, but I will run towards. I am cool with putting everyone in the room who needs to be in the room to have this conversation. But I refuse to let this continue to divide us, because Dr. Davis does deserve to be honored because she's a shero and she's a hometown hero based on her fight as it relates to the LGBTQ community, as it relates to civil rights, black people's rights, human rights, women's rights, criminal justice reform. Those things cannot be taken away. If we disagree with her, or if some disagree with her as her stance with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and BDS, they have a right to feel that way. But I also think folks can get in the room and talk about how they feel and why they have these views or opinions of her. There's nothing wrong with that. But the city has to do that because the BCRI didn't give the community a chance to do that.
Wow. And you listen to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazukian Network. And I think that you are in a position now where you'll find that this conflict is probably just the scab on the bigger wound of bringing everyone together on everything that happens in Birmingham and as abroad. It's probably just representative of what's a larger issue. I don't see this being something that people would just be upset about, in isolation just because of her. It's a bigger deal. But you have that responsibility, and I'm sure you're up for the challenge, right?
I have to be. I've asked people to vote for me because I told them I wanted to serve them. This is an amazing moment of servant leadership, and to be in a position when you're presented with the crisis. How do you perform? How do you react? I think you do a couple things, and they're simple. Be honest with folk. Look them in the face and say, "Hey, I set a group of folks in the room, folk from the Jewish community in the room, and this is what I told them: you can put $1 million in front of me, and prior to this situation, if you would have said, I'll give you $1 million if you can tell me what BDS stand for, I couldn't have walked away with that money." Mm-hmm. That's real.
That's real.
And so when people have an issue, let's learn about that issue. And they may have a fundamental right to feel that way, but let's also be in a position to put ourselves in other people's shoes.
That's right.
In this case, all the noise and I guess fight against her not receiving an award over a 2-week period was not as loud as people being so hurt and upset within the 24-hour window that the award was rescinded, which means there should have been conversation before this ever took place. So I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be raw and be real. And in this case, I'm going to even be funky.
There you go.
And I'm going to keep over communicating with the community about we can learn from this. We can pivot from this. We can learn from each other. We can come together. We can heal our community, but we have to talk and we have to be honest with each other.
Wow. They say 2 of the greatest inventions ever created were a swinging door and a telephone. And as far as I know, neither one is obsolete. And we want to thank you for your time that you've had to come and be real, right, and funky with us. This has definitely been a funky good time. And we're looking forward to having you here again. Maybe we can get to Birmingham.
Yeah.
And we can talk about some things.
Absolutely.
Because we didn't even talk about that Tide.
It's all
we don't
good.
talk about Tide right now.
Yeah, I'm hurt right now.
Yeah, we don't talk about it. And I know you licking your wounds, man.
My soul is hurt.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? As the song says, there'll be a brighter day ahead.
Yes, sir. I tell you this too. Next time I come, you got to play Outkast Funky Ride.
Funky
from
Ride.
The Southern Playalistic.
Funky Ride, you got
Funky
it.
Ride.
We're going to make that your theme song.
Funky Ride.
Let me take
you
on
on
the
We're going to cue it up
Funky
for you
Ride.
at church tomorrow before you speak.
Well, I don't know about
Clean
that.
version.
I don't know about that. Is there one?
Look,
Is there a clean version?
We moving toward a new generation in the faith community.
Well, I don't know if there's a clean version, but there's got to be a funky version. And this is Funky Politics, powered by the Kazuki Network, with the illustrious mayor of the Magic City, Mr. Randall Woodfin.
Thank you.
Riffin' on Jazz.
A voice that can make you laugh and make you cry.
Good jazz, you don't have to worry about what they're talking about. But when they pick up those instruments, we all speak the same language. And don't you know you went in the kitchen and come back with a big bowl of salad?
Riffin' on Jazz on the Kazukian Network.
Funky Politics. 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 Politics.
Funky Politics, powered by the Kazuki Network. We used to just be a podcast, but in the 2019, we are a living, breathing movement. And we want you to make sure you check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, or your favorite podcast provider. Plus, you can text F to the U to the N to the K to the Y 72,000 and check us out. That's FUNKY 72,000. Tasha, we're at the end of our time. And it's been a pleasure to be here with you. And it's been a pleasure for us to have our special guest, Mr. Randall Woodfin, Mayor of Birmingham, Alabama. You learned a lot today, didn't you?
It's been a good period of time hanging out with this brother. He is sharp, deliberate, thoughtful. I mean, just a burst of energy.
Right. I don't think
inspiring to the heavens.
I don't think that the leadership of Mr. Randall Woodfin will stop with the city of Birmingham, and I pray that with his discernment and his level of discretion that it goes much higher. But one thing that I did remember him saying is that as the mayor of a diverse city in the South, it's his responsibility to bring everyone together, and it's not one that he shies away from, but one that he runs to not knowing the outcome, but wanting and definitely having the confidence that with his work and his dedication, there will be a brighter day. And we hope the same thing for all the mayors, the newly elected mayors of all these cities, because the South will rise again. How it rises and what it rises to is what we have control of. But until next time, Tasha, I hope you come and you hang out with us again. And
thank you for asking me.
That's right. And I want you and I want everybody else in this audience to always do 3 things for us right here. We want you to keep it real, we want you to keep it right, and always keep it funky right here on Funky Politics.
Funky Politics, recorded at Kazukian Studio, directed, produced, recorded, and distributed by Kazukian.